próximos projetos e oportunidades de
Hello, very good afternoon for everybody in Portugal. Welcome to this innovation debate, where you're going to start to take things a little bit closer to Earth after the last debate that we were above the clouds. And in the first place, I want to thank you, Portugal Air Summit, especially Câmara Municipal de Ponte Sor, for keeping the spirit alive. Oh my God. I'm hearing my own lag, so I will ask Sound Regie to have a look at it. Yeah, I think it's okay now. So, as I was saying, thank you very much to Câmara Municipal de Ponte Sor for keeping this event spirit alive, and to, of course, Portugal Air Summit. I'm getting some difficulties here. Okay now. So, as I was saying, thank you for the event spirit alive. Of course, Portugal Summit. Well, some sound problems. So I will take my earphones, or else I will keep listening to me, and it's not very pleasant to listen to me all the time. So I want to hear my guests. So, although far away from Portugal, it's really a pleasure to be here, and it's important to be here because between cruising and recovering, it looks like that aviation industry is focused only on surviving or returning to profitability. Of course, every one of us in the investment innovation sector are thinking if innovation is going to suffer a setback for the next years, or trends like urban flying vehicles or disruptive business models are here to stay. This debate is important for not only for us that we are here, but also for governments in Portugal, in Portugal-speaking countries, regulators, investors, business, academia, entrepreneurs, and students, you name it. Because aviation is important to connect people and goods to accelerate economies, a sector that with or without virus will continue to strive. Now we need to know, are we going to strive in innovation, in efficiency, and in sustainability? And I believe that my guests here, brilliant minds, entrepreneurs, and the technicians will give a sort of a light on that. I will start with presenting Diana Siegel, very good friend, VP Commercial for programs at Aurora Flight Sciences, a company from Boeing company. She is leading an amazing project in urban air vehicles, and will tell us a little bit about this sector and how it's thriving. And after that, I'm going to follow the conversation with the two young and brilliant entrepreneurs that I also know personally. I'm a very blessed man. So we're going to have a very, very interesting discussion regarding this. So I don't know if the sound is still good, but I really recommend you guys to take the earphones out. Diana, I will pass the ball to you.
Sounds great. Good morning, Frederico. Good morning, everybody. Sounds like you can hear me okay? Sounds good. Awesome. Okay. Well, sounds like we have the most fun topic to discuss in this panel, innovation and imagining what our future aviation products and services will look like. And Frederico, you very astutely pointed out there will be an aviation future, right? Even though we're not flying as much, all of us, as we used to. So what I wanted to start with here real quick is just give a snapshot of the innovation topics that we're working on at Aurora that we're really excited about. Let me see if that screen share works. Wonderful, fantastic. So given these particularly unprecedented times, I just wanted to start with pointing out what a truly fascinating aviation, what a truly fascinating industry aviation really is. Because as you mentioned, Federico, right, that's really the industry that connected us all physically across the globe, people and goods, and we've done so with an unparalleled safety record and while being very affordable, so the service is accessible for a large share of the world's population. And that's really not a small feat and something we should be very proud of as an industry. But clearly no reason to stop there. We have a whole lot more to accomplish as an industry, because if we're looking at our air transport system today, what we largely do is fly big aircraft from one large airport to another large airport, and that really limits the utility of air travel. That's really measured in that door-to-door time, and particularly in those trips that are smaller than 300 kilometers. So there's a lot of untapped opportunity here for more local, more regional, much more personalized air travel that we just haven't been able to address yet well with the technology that we had, at least not sort of like for a large share of the population. Those have been very niche, very exclusive services. But with the improvements and advancements in technology that we're seeing, particularly in automation and electrification, that very same technology that you're finding on small drones today, with that technology, we can now imagine smaller, more automated air vehicles that maybe seat 2, 4, maybe 6 passengers that are able to get you much closer to where you actually want to go when you want to go. And as we're introducing those new air mobility services and expanding the existing air transport system that we have, of course, we want to make sure we do so in a sustainable fashion. So we want to make sure to choose the technology that we're employing wisely. One fair question to ask would be, well, why now? Why can we think of providing those more local, more regional, more personalized air mobility services now when we couldn't do so just 5 or 10 years ago? And it's really in that confluence of technology of mainly electric propulsion, autonomy, but also connectivity. So for example, with autonomy, we have access to very lightweight computing technologies to lightweight sensing technologies that allows us to sense vehicle state, attitude, position, altitude, but also to sense our environment. And just 5 years ago, the lightest radar that we could buy that roughly worked weighed in at around 10 kilograms. Now you can carry that kind of radar in the palm of your hand, which weighs around 1 kilogram. So just an incredible improvement in technology here in weight performance, which is key to fit onto the small aircraft we're imagining. And electric propulsion really is the technology that allows us to think of very different types of vehicle designs, designs that actually let us do very short takeoffs or vertical takeoffs and landing, and thereby gives us access to those urban areas, those suburban areas where we actually want to go. And connectivity, not to forget, absolute key for any operator that would like to roll out that kind of service once we actually have those vehicles in the future. Very low friction access to a large customer base that is enabled by that connectivity that we all have in our pockets. So just briefly for orientation, who is actually Aurora Flight Sciences and what are we doing in this space? So we're a medium-sized company that's headquartered out of the US near Washington, DC, and we're specializing in the development and prototyping of autonomous aircraft, and often that autonomous aircraft or those autonomous aircraft come with novel configurations. The company was funded around 30 years ago by a group of friends from MIT that were really interested in employing unmanned aircraft for atmospheric research. And since then, the company has designed, built, and flown around 30 different aircraft designs, some of which you see on here and in partnership with government and commercial customers. In 2017, we were acquired by Boeing. So since then, we've also done quite a bit of work for Boeing, particularly in the sustainability space, but continue to work with government and commercial customers on future air mobility products, and particularly lately, autonomous electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. So what specifically have we been working on when it comes to the technology that's involved in enabling these novel air mobility concepts? So first, we work quite a bit on different air vehicle configurations, on what we call a separate lift plus cruise configuration, where you basically marry a multi-copter with a fixed wing aircraft. We experimented with tilt wing ducted fan aircraft, turboelectric aircraft. The interesting thing about this space really is that there's no clear best design. It really depends on exactly the use case and the mission you like to fly, and that design space is really huge, opened up by automation and electrification. Now, we strongly believe that the autonomy is going to be a key enabler for those kind of mobility services, because that's really what allows simplified vehicle operations for a pilot, be that in the air or on the ground. And obviously, it's key to scaling those operations if we're looking to fly autonomously down the line. And just to point out a couple of functions here that we've experimented with and actively working on that we think are very important. Number one, detect and avoid. We don't want to run into other traffic or stuff on the ground. And you can imagine it's actually fairly difficult to detect traffic against the sky or even worse, below the horizon for a human's eye. So this is where the technology can come in to help. And it's obviously absolutely essential for flying fully autonomous down the line. The other function we're heavily focused on is contingency management, because that's really the hard part in flying. Flying the nominal mission isn't particularly difficult, either for the pilot nor for the automation, but in these rare cases where things go wrong, where you have to quickly assess what is the situation, can I continue my flight, do I need to abort, do I need to land as soon as possible or possibly even immediately, that's a fairly difficult thing to do also for the human, and something where the automation can help and should help. On electric propulsion, if we fly fully battery electric, the great thing is that that lets us fly completely emissions-free in urban settings, but it also introduces the challenge of how far can we go. And again, when we did this around 5 years ago, when we started in that space, the ranges we could get weren't particularly exciting with the state of the art. The kinds of batteries that we have in development and testing now at a prototype level would get us around 80 to 100 kilometers on these, what we call eVTOL, electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, which starts getting very interesting, where you can think of real missions that you could accomplish. Given that it takes us a lot of power to actually lift those kind of vehicles up into the air and fly, we do want a power distribution system that works on a relatively high voltage. That is unprecedented right now in certified aircraft. So quite a bit of work that needs to be done here to make sure that those kind of systems really work safely and are fault tolerant. And clearly, on the topic of safety, this is something in aviation we cannot compromise on and will not compromise on. And just to visualize that, the challenge is really what we're looking to do here with those vehicles. We're looking to pack the level of safety that we're used to from transport category aircraft that weigh in at 50, 60 tons. We're trying to put that into vehicles that weigh 50th of that, right? Closer to 1 to 2 tons. So that's not a small challenge. It can be done, and we're working on it, but it's definitely a challenge ahead. So I do want to re-emphasize that commitment and the importance of safety in this. Safety is really a commitment that we have made as an industry to the flying public. And for transport grade mobility services, we really have committed ourselves to providing that air mobility service where we go without a vehicle failure condition that could lead to a catastrophic failure for more than 1 billion flight hours. And that is a huge number and a very high bar to meet, a very different bar than we're used to from consumer electronics. But before we put an aviation product out there that does carry people or flies over people, we want to make sure that we do indeed meet that bar. So the challenge that that high safety bar imposes on us as an industry is that we end up with much longer time spans and much higher levels of investment to get a product to market compared to consumer electronics. So a challenge that we have is how do we show as an industry, and specifically what do we do at Aurora to keep that momentum going, show early progress, provide confidence that the thing we're working on is actually going to work as a product down the line. And there's three specific approaches that we have used with our investors and customers that have worked well in showing value along the road. And one thing we very often do is we start with prototyping. That could be a relatively small or larger subscale that we fly to just prove the concept. Can that new configuration actually work? And then when we move to full scale, which is one design step we'd want to do if the configuration is relatively novel, we do that testing on manned. We have that technology today to do that, and by not putting a person in the aircraft to test it, we can take a very different risk posture early on by not putting that person's life at risk and making sure that we get invaluable learnings safely very early on. Now, also, there's really no reason to wait for the entire aircraft to be complete to test subsystems, particularly the automation subsystem and the operation. So we do that a lot on surrogates. We have helicopters that test our VTOL technology, fixed-wing platforms that will test the fixed-wing portion of the flight, and small drones where we test fleet operations with. And that really allows us to get a lot of early experience on subsystems like the autonomy and the automation that are about as complex or harder even than the full vehicle itself, and do that testing very early and again show early progress and results. Finally, high-fidelity simulations. With that kind of tool, we can run real-time or faster than real-time, hundreds, thousands of missions and many more flight hours that we would be able to do in flight testing alone. Again, that builds confidence that the system is doing what it should, and we get to demonstrate capability early on. So with that, we think there's a lot of opportunity out there for more automated, more electric aircraft to build entirely new air mobility services that are more local, regional, and actually get you to where you want to go when you want to go. So thank you very much, and looking forward to the discussion after.
Thank you, Diana, for this lovely presentation. Also, market insights, very interesting for us to understand that the urban mobility sector is underway. And I'm coming back for you to some questions regarding that. I will just go along and introduce my other fellow panelists for today. Yad, can you present yourself in 2 minutes and talk a little bit about concepts? Yad and Hongbo are here because they are successful entrepreneurs before the crisis, and they are still standing, and they are still successful entrepreneurs after the crisis, not on the area of urban mobility, yet more in the area of sustainability, and now connected also to aerospace. And Hongbo is a man that is only comparable with Hulk, because he's fighting against the ancillary, let's say, income for the normal status quo, that is the buying things in the airports. Hongbo is changing this. He's look at this aspect in a disruptive way, and it will change the way that we buy when we travel. And I know that is a very hard task now, but you are striving and you are now succeeding. And we want to hear a little bit about the story. First, Yad, tell us a little bit about the concept.
Yeah, Frederico, again, thanks a lot for having me in this panel. Diana, great presentation. Learned quite a bit and interested to speak later about it too. So I'm part of the concept. I'm the co-founder and CEO. We founded our company in Dubai 3 years ago. Dubai is a city of innovation, and UAE is an amazing country that I believe is working with Portugal in innovation as well. What we do at the concept is we do sustainable catering solutions. So we look at catering in terms of two dynamics. So we look at it as hardware as well as tech. In hardware, we design, manufacture lightweight products. So our first product was a very simple in-flight food tray. So that's a food tray that crews serve you on board the aircraft. We made it lighter by 30%, which saves airlines about $1 million every year on fuel savings. And then, of course, with the pandemic, we had to be smart. So we got our trays as the world's first certified antimicrobial in-flight food trays, which recently got tested against a strain of coronavirus. So we were agile in terms of pivoting in order to make sure that we bring in the medical aspect into our products, which is what the aviation industry is looking for today. And then we're bringing in the tech as well and sustainability. So our tray will also be the world's first smart tray. So we're embedding NFC technology. And what the trays will be able to do is collect passenger consumption behavior. So if Hongbo is flying from Dubai to Austria, we'll be able to understand exactly what food Hongbo ate on board the aircraft and what percentage of that was consumed or not, which saves airlines and flight catering centers quite a bit. And of course, through COVID, we've also started pivoting towards the aerospace. And we're currently working with Mohammed bin Rashid Space Station and the UAE Space Agency to develop some cool products to send it to space. So yeah, that's us. I'll hand it to Hongbo and excited to speak more.
Hongbo, tell us a little bit about you and about BONFIRE. BONFLITE. You must unmute yourself, I believe. No sound. Yeah, something with the connection. Yeah, we can hear you.
Is it no better?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, perfect. Good to see you, Frederico, and the fantastic presentation, Diana. It looks great. And obviously wonderful to see you again, Yad. And hello, everyone. My name is Hongbo. I'm the CEO and co-founder of BONFLITE. And our company is based in Ireland, which is not that far away from Portugal. Without COVID, we should all have been in present and physical with each other. So in terms of what we do, BONFLITE is we provide a duty-free digital platform or e-commerce platform as a solution for air travelers to shop duty-free products at any time and be able to collect their purchases at anywhere. And we work very closely with airlines and airport duty-free operators to help them increase duty-free sales or ancillary revenue sales with higher conversion rates, higher average order value. And we also generate brand new revenue streams to them at a minimum to zero capex. So from air traveler perspective, using our solution, they can shop duty-free products from the moment they become air traveler, present at home, on their way to the airport, in flight with or without Wi-Fi, post-flight, and in destination. Then we can fulfill their purchases by delivery to their home in Portugal, for example, or deliver straight away to their hotel in destination and make it ready for them to collect it at departures airport or arrivals airport, or deliver straight away to their seat on the aircraft. So that has been our solution prior to COVID, and we have been focusing pretty much on the MENA, on the Middle East market. And with the COVID situation coming to the world around early this year, we are looking at what else we can support to the industry. And so a conclusion we reached is when some duty-free operators came to us, and for instance, Dufry, the largest duty-free operator, had have 500 million inventory, excessive inventory they need to sell. So with that, we are now helping. We are now not only providing technologies, our solution to airlines and duty-free operators, but we are also helping duty-free operators, travel retail brands, and distributors sell their products into China, which happen to be the country that we covered faster than the rest of the world. So over the past 3 months, our traction in China has been quite good. We launched with Qingdao Airlines in China with our partner TDT Link. 20 days ago, we launched with Ctrip to provide our products and services to their 200 million monthly active users. And so far, the progress has been quite good. So as Frederico said, for us, it's all about ancillary revenue. And we believe ancillary revenue and duty-free shopping will help the airline business recover from the COVID-19 crisis. And the history has proven that as well. Yeah, so that's an introduction about myself and BONFLITE.
Thank you. Diana, I come back to you. In January this year will be almost 2 years that we were together in the panel Just for Human Mobility. And at the time, everybody, especially investors, were feeling pumped. I believe that the numbers at the time were around $300 billion invested in urban mobility with a lot of companies. Of course, that your company is standalone from the others. So it's pretty clear that we are all moving to urban mobility, correct? Urban flying cars, correct? Will we start to see this movement very shortly? And if not, why not? And which kind of movement will be? You speak about autonomy. It's very important to reach to autonomy. Is that the real hanker that is getting all this movement not to be ready yet because we are still working so hard in being autonomous?
So the autonomy really is the thing where we, the reason why we're all excited about urban air mobility is not because we're thinking we're going to fly 5, 10, 50 of these airplanes in the world, right, with a pilot for a limited set of operations, but why all the industry and us also is excited about this is because we really think that could be a technology and a form of mobility that you could roll out at a very large scale across the world. Not to replace existing forms of transport. It's not reasonable to assume that that's going to replace all the cars, all the metros, all the other forms of transport that we have. It's going to be an additional element in the transport mix, but at a relatively large scale. Just to put some numbers behind, and obviously sort of like this is where different experts disagree, but even if you just take that average, we're talking about production numbers that are on the order of a factor 10, 20, 30, sort of like higher than what we're talking about for the air transport industry today, even in the very early stage. And this is really what gets investors excited, what gets OEMs excited, also municipalities, local communities that would like to adopt that service. And yes, it's going to be a stepwise approach to that kind of scalability, to potentially something where we can have those kind of vehicles in our backyard and take off from our garages. That'll be a little further down the line. But you can absolutely see how that technology enables those kind of use cases down the line. And that's why everybody is that excited about it. But it's going to be a stepwise approach to walk our way there.
I'm going to make a question a little bit more directed to everybody that could hear us. More around 4 years ago, I was going to a Farnborough Air Show, and I just saw this amazing flying Jaguar. And I was thinking to myself, who's going to buy a car that cannot, or aircraft that cannot fly? Will this be a problem?
Sorry, you say aircraft that cannot fly, or?
I cannot fly. I will buy a beautiful Jaguar, but then maybe I will not be able to fly it. Really? Or I will put myself in the shoes of the neighbor. Don't want to see my neighbor getting on the morning very upset out of home in his flying Jaguar. So, and this is all about autonomy. So how are you solving this, and how do you see the future of this question? I know it's also a sensitive question for pilots, but we're not speaking about that. We're speaking about human mobility. It's different from normal civil aviation, right? Mm-hmm. So how are you solving this mobility issue and this safety issue so that we can fly Boeings and...
Yeah, and I think we can make an analogy here to the automotive driving industry, right? Right now in autonomous driving, we're not trying to solve the whole problem at once. We're attacking it in pieces. We're saying, well, let's start with automated highway driving, lane keeping. And that now enables use cases, all right, where I could actually go on a highway that's potentially specially equipped for that and drive autonomously. In aviation, we're approaching it in a very similar fashion. We basically constrain the operation to something that we can control. We know where the other traffic is. We know where the routes are we're supposed to go. We know that the aircraft is able to do that. And we understand if anything goes wrong, where would the aircraft go? So by limiting the operation to something that you can manage and understand, think corridors where you have radar coverage, think basically controlled sort of like landing sites, scouted sort of like emergency landing areas. With that, you can start building a safety case for how you can make that operation happen before you try and solve the universal autonomy piece that would allow you to go to your backyard and to any other place that you can think of. So phased approach, very similar to what the automotive industry is doing.
Very good. Everybody's still excited with the urban flying cars, with their own corridors, with their own limitations, of course. The future is arriving. Yad, there is still interest by the industry to look at the future and start to invest in the future, right? Even on this situation.
I mean, yeah, 100%. And I think, of course, we're going to be a bit biased here because we're all from the aviation industry. But look, I think Hongbo was right when he said history will repeat itself, right? This is not the first time, and it's not going to be the first time. And I think there are going to be some great initiatives that we're going to pull out of this. There are going to be some great learning lessons, some learning curves. I mean, you're looking at the world speaking about A380 and the fleets and how they're going to get rid of it, and a few airlines are sticking with it. But I think it's just going to be a year or two of learning. And building new products and solutions. And I think, for Aurora Space, it's the perfect time. And even for myself and Hongbo, it's about using this opportunity as a small company, as entrepreneurs, in order to pivot and in order to make our products agile and put it out there. So, look, at the end of the day, it's been, 8 months. We sell trays to airlines. You would think we'd be bust by now, but in fact, we're doing really well with our new products. And there's investment in aviation. It's less, but there's still investment. So I think there's a great future ahead of us. It's just about sticking together as a community. Hongbo and myself, we know each other from the entrepreneurship community in aviation. We've stuck together, helped each other out, and I think the bigger corporates are going to do that as well in order to seek and then move forward during these times.
Hongbo, your clients are basically flying in airlines and passing by airports. So how will you convince other airports? By the way, you are in an amazing place now to make business. And I know that China is coming back to normal and everybody's starting to get at least regional flights very good. But how will you convince the other international players that you could be a tool important for their own economic recovery?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and thanks for that, Frederico. I think from day one, if you look at our solution and our business model from day one, it is about us fostering greater collaboration between the industry stakeholders. In our very example, that means airlines and airport duty-free operators. Now, for us as a technology solution, our job is to not only provide a piece of solution to improve their efficiency, but to really drive sales for them. Now, speaking of airlines, for instance, I'll get to airports later. If we look at the history, back in 2008, the financial crisis, prior to the financial crisis, ancillary revenue as a whole only accounted 0.48% of the total airline revenue. But by the year of 2008, ancillary revenue tripled and increased to 1.8% of the total airline revenue. And if we look at the statistic last year, which is 2019, prior to the COVID, ancillary revenue accounted 13.06% of nearly $1 trillion airline revenue market. So that really shows the collaboration required when the industry is in the middle of a crisis like what we are in today. Now, like any other crisis, it takes time for all the industry stakeholders to rethink about their strategies over the past. Obviously, airlines will think, and airports as well, both of them were thinking about how they can drive more footfall into airport duty-free store and fill out the aircraft seat. Now, that's what they were focusing on, concentrating on over the past, because the industry has seen a tremendous growth over the past decade. But now, as we have much less passengers on the airlines, on the airplanes, and much less passenger passing by the airport store, and in fact, today, 65% of passengers, total air travelers, will refrain from going to the airport store because of, the fear of virus spreading. So that really shows, that really presents a great digital opportunity for both airport duty-free operators, airports, and airlines to think about how they can provide a really effective digital channel for air travelers to shop duty-free products or to also consume other products and services. Now, there has been some digital services over the past, but they are not effective. Now, our goal is to provide such effective digital solution that works like a plug and play. They plug our solution, they can make money straight away. And for airlines, that really just means they can make more profit per passenger, even though there are much less passengers today. And for airport as well, it's all about ancillary revenue for us. And we believe ancillary revenue has proven its value over the past and will continue to drive the growth and the recovery of the airline and the airport and the aviation business as a whole. And duty-free would be just one area that we would like to contribute our efforts to the industry to help the industry recover. And we believe companies like Yadhushan and ourselves are in the right place, that we both focus on relentlessly adding value into the industry stakeholders. And that's something we'll continue to do.
A really fast question, because I can see the time is going by. I really thought my screen was going to blow, but it went for minus. So Diana, we don't have time enough to explore much, just at the tip of the iceberg what you and your amazing team are accomplishing in this urban flight. But can you please tell us, to the normal guys that are in the street, how do you see the next steps that we can visualize? So is it drones, is it hybrid flight, and then started to automate it? How soon we're going to see your products, the Boeing products, on the skies?
So where we see that this going, and what we are actively pursuing is we're going to start with cargo. We're going to start with cargo in more remote operations, simpler areas, work our way up to more complex operations, prove that we can operate safely, collect the data that we need to make that safety case. And as we gain experience, build the technology, work our way into cities, bring in people, carrying passengers over people, that's going to be the ultimate goal. And we see the first solutions. We will see those in the next few years coming along. I have no doubt about that. The technology is there. But as mentioned, we need to make that operation in such a way that it's in line with what the technology has proven to do so far. And then we're going to take the next step from there.
Thank you, Aurora. Yad, on these very troubled times, you already gave us the answer. Everybody is still very fit to continue to be entrepreneurs, and the industry is coming. What do you think that will be the next steps for the concept in the future?
Look, I think for us right now, we're so focused on helping the industry provide customer confidence, because at the end of the day, it's the customers that's going to help us pave the next revolution for the aviation industry. So we're working on touch points within the cabin, bringing our patented antimicrobial designs into effect into the cabin. So we believe by giving the customer the confidence to fly again, airlines are doing great with HEPA filters, but there are other things other than just HEPA filters. There's touch points. So that's what we're going to be focusing as a concept. We're also taking this as a great opportunity. We believe the aviation industry it's almost like a reset button. So we're looking at other verticals as well within the aviation industry, other than just the cabin, and then of course looking at aerospace and defense. So that's the road for the concept for the next coming years. Yeah.
Yad, where are you going to jump after China?
Me myself, for now, I'm just happy to be at home these days, and it's quite interesting. I'm in the city of Wuhan at the moment, which is where the world is at the very started.
What do you see your next customers? What do you see the next trend?
Well, the next trend there are definitely many initiatives going on around the ancillary revenue area and across the whole airline industry. And so for us, I think similar to what Yada mentioned, our job is to empower airlines and airports and airport duty-free operators to recover faster from the COVID crisis by leveraging what technologies and crises, as well as the successful experience. So that's something we'll continue to do. And just along that line, any value we can add in additionally, that will be our focus going forward. And the MENA region has been our focus over the past. And our plan would be by early 2021, we plan to return back to the MENA region. And our home base is in Ireland, so I'm really keen to fly back and work from there. So, yes.
Fantastic. I think that we are run out of time, and I thank you all very much for coming here. We could speak here for ages, but what was clear here is that innovation is still on this path, and the course is sustainability. The course is autonomous, and I think it was very clear here that innovation is still counting on the aviation sector despite all of this turbulence that we are facing now. I thank you all for coming, and I thank also Portugal Air Summit, Cameroon Salponsor, and the Portugal Air Summit, a brilliant organization, for everything. And I see you all very soon.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.